Hi everybody and welcome to a second video from Crassius Productions. I'm John Mather, and in today's video we're going to look at setting out feature blocks using nothing but SoulSections. Right, so let's have a look. We're back to our site from our last tutorial. So demo sites crassiusproductions.com.au/test, and if you remember we created those three monitors that if I refresh this they cascade in. So that was our last tutorial, and in this tutorial was because of a question I got asked on this site over here. I created these three features using the features block by Headway Rocket, which is a premium block, and someone asked me whether it could be done with SoulSections, and the answer is most certainly it can be. Alright, but the first thing we need to do, these are font awesome icons. So to get support for font awesome icons, we need to head over to the font awesome website and go into get started. In the get started screen down here you'll see this: paste the following code into the head section of your site's HTML. So if you copy that whole line, go over to your Headway options script analytics and just paste that in there and click save. That's all you need to do to be able to use font awesome icons on any site. So let's close that down, and we can close this one down here as well. Alright, so back in the site I've already created a wrapper which I'm going to call features, and I've created a SoulSections block which I'm also going to call, I'll call that features. And generally with wrappers what I like to do is go features wrapper. Makes it easy when you're trying to search through them later on, and I'm just going to make sure I set this wrapper to header. Click save. Right, back to the site. Even though there's SoulSections block, there's still no content in here, so let's get started. Alright, so open block options, and under breakpoint settings we want to set our first alias, which will each one of these, planning, execution, each one of these blocks, in this case 3 of them, will become an alias. So the first alias is planning. This is optional, but it makes it easier to track. And we're not using, even though we're using images as such with the icons, we're actually using font awesome. So we're not going to use the image selector down here. Instead we're going to start with the title. Now in this font awesome we've got the coffee cup. So back on our font awesome, if you go to icons, there are all the icons you're able to use as part of the font awesome font. So I'm just going to hit Control F to do a search, type in coffee, and there's our coffee cup. If we open that in a new tab just so we can see it, under there is the code that we want to use. Now there are multiple sizes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we want to use the 5th size. If you click over onto the examples and open here and scroll down, you'll see all these different examples. So here's your large for 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So we want to use the 5 times. So we would use FA-coffee-cup FA-5. So, but if you have a look while we're in here, you can see there's a whole range of different styles and methods you can use with font awesome. So I encourage you to go through and have a play. But for our case, we're just going to stick with the basic one, plus we're going to add in the FA-5 times on the end of each one. Alright. So let's start with our coffee cup. Back over to our features block under title, click on the code thing so you can paste in your code, and at the end here we're going to FA-5 times. And under our planning, if we go back over to here, we've got our so our tagline will be planning, and then our text will be that one there. So here we go, tagline will be planning, if I can spell right, and then we have our text. Once again, click on the code to cut and paste, and that'll wrap it in P tags for paragraph. Okay, that takes care of our planning. Now if we click here next to the on the plus sign next to the planning alias and scroll down, that'll create another alias, which in this one is execution. So here we go, we're going to type that in there, execution, which is the same thing we type in for our tagline, execution, and in this case it is a pencil. So back over to our icons, do a search, pen, 7 responses. Scroll down until we find the pencil. There we go. So opening that up, there's the code we want to paste. Back over to our, with SoulSections it tends to jump back to the top, so we need to make sure we scroll down, working in our execution, and we go to our title, click on the code, paste that in, and remember we want to add in that 5 times, so FA-5 times as a class. And then we want our text, back to our execution, because remember it scrolls to the top. We want to make sure we're working in the right alias area, and that's that one done. You can close the pencil, and the last one is support. So we add in our third block, which is actually an alias. So we go to our execution, click on the plus sign, scroll down, and here we're going to call it, what did I say, support. So we click on our tagline, enter in support, and with our icon this time we are going to be doing the boy. So we go life ring, life boy, let's use life boy, life ring, sorry. Cut that one in, go to our title under support, click, paste, and we go FA-5 times. And then lastly we want to add in that text. Copy that, go over to here, make sure we scroll back down to support and go to our text. Oops, click on the code and then it will allow me to paste. Let's click save and let's head over to our site and we'll hit refresh and you will see there will be absolutely nothing here. Now there is a reason for that. If we go above our breakpoint, it is set to hero cover, back up top, but we're not using any hero cover. Image on top is if we were to use an image, but in this case we're using all our content blocks because we didn't, remember, if we go back to our breakpoint settings, we didn't put anything in our images. So if we go to back to our above breakpoint, we want to use text content only, and we'll do the same for below the breakpoint. Now if we hit save, go back to our site and refresh, and there we have it, our 3 blocks stacked all the way. Alright, so we don't need font awesome anymore, so I'm going to close that, and back on this way site I'm going to go over to our design editor just so I can pull up the colours and make it all match. And we'll do the same here, we'll go to our design page, we'll hit, there we go, we'll start with our font awesome icons, which if we scroll down to here, should be that colour there, which is D7, that nice light blue. So we'll head back over to this side, go to our font awesome, which is our title, and we'll go to font color and that colour there. We'll hit save for that one, and we're going to do the same colour for our, which is our tagline. We'll go font color and choose the same color there, except in this case we want to make sure we're checking our font size, which is 21 pixels. So back over here we go to our font size, change that to 21 pixels. And we also want to make that a capitalization, so we're going to change that to uppercase. And for the font type, it doesn't really matter, but for this sake I'm going to choose a nice Google font. Maybe I will choose, shall go cabin, and I'm going to go cabin condensed. Right, now the other thing I want to do on this one is if we look, they are not lining up, so I'm just going to add a margin onto the bottom of that, and I might make that 20 pixels. Now if we click on those ones, we can see they all line up. I want to change the instance of that. I want to change that font color to white, and I'm going to make that 200, and I'm going to make that font size, I don't know, 14. Then the other thing I want to do is we're going to, if we look back over here, we've got our wrapper here. If we add, we're going to check the color on that one, which that color is that one there, so we'll just cut and paste that. And I'm going to go, this is where it's handy why I set aliases. If we scroll back up to our structure and go to our web wrapper and instances, we can see we got the features and we got the header. So if I click on the features which we're working on, I can paste that in there, and there we have it. And the last thing I didn't do was when I changed that color, I changed it to white, and if you look, it's not actually a white. Our font is that color there, and it's 1.2 and 2 EM. So just to keep it simple, I'm going to go back to this one. I'm going to make that an EM, and it was 1.2, and delete that and change that to EM. There we go, and then we want the color to be that blue. Right, and the last thing I want to do is go back to my wrapper, and I want to add some padding in this. So I want to give that a padding at the top of 30 pixels, and then I'll match that down the bottom with 30 pixels. We'll hit save, we'll go back to this website, and we'll hit refresh, and hopefully there we go, there we have it. We have our 3 blocks, very much the same as how we made them there. The bonus thing we can do with SoulSections that we can do with features, but it is a little bit harder, is we can add animations to this. As I said, you can do it with the features, but therefore you're going to have to create the CSS coding, whereas SoulSections takes care of all that for us. So if we go to our title, which is the Font Awesome Icons, I want to set that to roll in, and I'm going to make it 1 second for the planning. And then we're going to go down to the execution, roll in 1 second, but I'm going to make that delay by a second, and then we'll scroll down to support. We'll also make that roll in, also will take 1 second, but we'll delay by 2 seconds. So this one will fire, and then this one, when that one finishes, the next one will fire, and then when that one finishes, that one will fire. And we'll just go back over to our site, we'll hit refresh, and we should see those Font Awesome, look at that, roll in. And the other thing we can do, what I might actually do is, go back to there, I might actually make that delay 0.5 seconds, and then instead of 2 seconds, I'll make that 1.5. So that way the other ones are still rolling as they start to come in. So whereas before this one would finish before this one would, the next second one would start, now we've got them all rolling in with very minimal delay. Alright, now we're going to create some other effects here. I'm going to go back up to the top, and I'm not going to do anything with the title, but with the tagline I want to make that fade up big. Make that last a second, scroll down, execution, down to tagline, no, we want text, fade in up big, also make last a second, and we'll add the same delay, half a second, and then we'll scroll down to supports, text, fade in up big, 1 second, and this one was a delay of 1.5 seconds. So if we hit save, go back to our website, hit refresh, and there we have it. Did I do that one? Did I see it slide in? Text fade out big, 1 second. There we go, planning. Because it did on the tagline. No effect. Roll in, and 1 second. That's why it looked weird. Go back over, hit refresh. It's not roll in, we want it to fade up big, there we go, now we've got it. So there we go, there we have it, our SoulSections. And the other thing, if I go just for the sake of it, I'm just going to go and bring up some lorem ipsum, and we'll go into generator, and I want to make this 4,500 words, generate, copy that, and I'm just going to add in a content block, switch block type, make that a custom code block purely so you can see a better scroll effect, because I'm just going to move that up. Didn't want to do that. There we go. Bit rough, but now if we go back to our site and we'll hit refresh, you can see they come in and we've got all this text just to add some lines of code, and they won't come into play until you scroll through. I'm just going to, so just to recap, when you refresh the site, the beauty about SoulSections is as you do the animation, you can scroll through all this content, and the animations don't start to take effect until the user scrolls, because under SoulSections, if we go back to it, and under Breakpoint, it knows when to take. So 70% down the page, if we move that down, it'll probably still stay the same. But SoulSections knows when for the effect to take place. So we'll delete that block. So we don't want it. Put that back to the top of that wrapper. Hit save. Go back to the top. Hit refresh, and all that code will be gone because I don't want it in there. That was just showing you an example so you knew it didn't take place until we scrolled down. So there we go. There we have setting out a features block using nothing but SoulSections. In the next video, I'm going to cover off the same thing as this, doing the same concept, but instead of using font awesome icons, I'm going to show you how I do this site. If I scroll down here, this site here, this team section, this was created exactly the same way. However, you can see we've got some social media icons, we've got multiple formats of text, and we actually used images in this one. So in the next block, I'm going to next video, I'll show you how we created this and using SoulSections with images. And just one last thing which I didn't show you, I just want to show you that that is fully responsive, being SoulSections. If we scroll down and we take it into our mobile mode, you can see there it is responsive. The reason it is going down so low, just quickly, Headway Visual Editor, we want grid mode. Let's just go back to our SoulSections block, and it is the breakpoint is default set at 600 pixels. Most of the time that will work, but however in this section you might want to change that to 768 breakpoint. So at the moment it's 3. It's still 3. Oh no, it's dropped down now. So there we go. So 768, it's still 3, but when it goes to less than 3, it drops down to the single. And there we go. And there we go. Let's take refresh. I forgot to refresh. So 768 and down, and when we go into landscape mode on the tablet, it's side by side, and when we're in there, it is stacking. So there we go, that's 20 minutes up. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.